Charlie Munger lived to be 99 years old. You know, when a legendary investor like that passes, they leave behind so much more than a financial legacy. They've left behind a blueprint for a life well lived. So today, we're going to distill his final, most powerful lessons on how to live a truly rich life.
Okay, so here's the number most people think of when they hear Charlie Munger. A net worth of $2.6 billion. It's the easy, straightforward definition of success. But here's the thing. To Munger, this number completely missed the point.
And this was Munger's real philosophy. He argued that true wealth isn't about what you own, but about how you think. It's such a powerful reframe, and it's going to guide everything we dive into next.
So, that really begs the question, right? If a multi-billionaire didn't see money as the end goal, what did he see? What was the real prize? Well, we're going to break down his wisdom into 6 core pillars. First up is this whole idea of redefining what rich even means. Munger believed that most of our anxiety comes from comparing our stuff to other people's stuff. You know, the whole trap of keeping up appearances? And his life was basically a masterclass in how to avoid that trap. And this story is just wild. Munger owned this gorgeous mansion in a fancy community he helped design. But where did he spend most of his final years? In his old, pretty modest house. Get this, his friends literally had to bring their own fans and ice in the summer just to stay cool when they visited. And see, this just illustrates his point perfectly. He wasn't being cheap. He just couldn't be bothered with material upgrades. He shopped at Costco, used a basic phone. So why do it? Well, it's simple. That old house was closer to his friends and his work. It was an environment he'd optimized for what he actually cared about: thinking, learning, and connecting. He knew the goal isn't to upgrade your things, it's to upgrade your mind.
And that focus on the mind, well, it leads us straight into our second pillar. For Munger, the real enemy of aging, it wasn't the wrinkles, it wasn't a bad back, nope. It was a complacent, lazy mind. He was convinced that the moment you stop thinking, you truly start to get old.
I mean, this is just absolutely incredible. At 99 years old, when most people are focused on just preserving what they have, Munger was going on the attack. The entire market was saying coal was dead, but he saw something different. He made a massive bet against the crowd.
And the result? A paper profit of over $50 million. Look, this wasn't some lucky guess. This was the payoff from a lifetime of relentless thinking, from a mind that was just as sharp and as daring as ever. So how'd he pull it off? Well, his method is actually pretty straightforward when you break it down. First, you got to be skeptical of what everyone else is shouting about. Second, focus on the long term, not the panic of the day. And third, and this is so crucial, only put your money into things you've taken the time to really truly understand. Don't just chase the hot new trend. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The money was really just a side effect. The real game for him was the intellectual challenge, the curiosity. Right up to the very end, he was in it, debating stuff like Moore's Law and AI. His brain was always working. That was his secret to vitality. Okay, so that brings us to pillar number 3. You know, when we hear the phrase long-term investing, our brains immediately go to stocks, right? But Munger applied that philosophy to something he thought was way more valuable: people. Just take the incredible story of this guy named Alpamayo. Munger met him when he was just a 17-year-old kid, saw some potential, and decided to invest his time. He didn't just give him a few tips, he mentored him for decades, teaching him the ins and outs of real estate and business. And the payoff? Alpamayo went on to build his own empire and is now a billionaire himself. That's the power of compounding when you invest in a person. So here's the big takeaway. The thing you really need to get. Munger taught us that real long-termism isn't just about holding a stock for 10 years. It's about investing your time and your energy into relationships and knowledge, assets that truly grow and compound, creating value that, honestly, no stock certificate could ever touch. And that idea of genuine connection leads us right into pillar 4, authenticity. Now, Munger had a reputation, right? He was famously blunt, sometimes even a little gruff. But he wasn't just some curmudgeon. He was a complex, authentic person, and he proved that being true to yourself is a massive source of strength.
Just look at these two sides of the same man. On one hand, he was worried about becoming some old, lonely guy, so what did he do? He started a breakfast club to stay connected, saying, "At my age, you either make new friends or you have none." But then, on the flip side, a big-shot executive from Ford comes to visit, and Munger just looks him in the eye and asks why they even bother making sedans when all their money comes from trucks. He was deeply caring and brutally honest. See, people respected him not in spite of that sharpness, but because of it. It was real.
All right, pillar number 5. This one might just be my favorite. We live in this age that's completely obsessed with optimizing everything, with biohacking our health. Munger, he offered a totally different path to a long life. Just live on your own terms.
So what was his secret? Was it kale smoothies? Insane workouts? Some crazy anti-aging protocol? Well, Munger had a much, much different idea.
You heard that right. His last meal was a hamburger and a Coke. He absolutely loved Korean fried chicken and Costco hot dogs. He wasn't trying to be some perfect specimen of health. He was just trying to enjoy his life.
And the best part? He did it with a laugh, joking with his family that this was his real longevity secret. The lesson here is so good. Don't get so wrapped up in following all the rules that you forget to actually, live. Find some joy in the simple things.
And that brings us to our final, and honestly, the most important pillar of all, the one investment that paid him the biggest dividends of his entire life.
So in his final hours, there in the hospital, Munger asked his family to leave the room. He needed to make one last phone call. It was to his partner and his best friend of 64 years, Warren Buffett. We'll never know what they said in that call, but we don't need to. That single action tells you everything you need to know about what mattered most to him when it all came down to it.
So let's recap. Let's put it all together. Here are the 6 pillars of a truly rich life, Munger style. Value clear thinking more than stuff. Stay curious to fight off getting old. Invest in people for the long, long haul. Be yourself, not who people want you to be. Choose joy over following the rules. And above all else, value true friendship more than any amount of money in the world.
You see, in the end, Munger's life wasn't just a masterclass in investing. It was a masterclass in living. And so he leaves all of us with a challenge, to look past the dollar signs and ask ourselves a really simple but incredibly powerful question. What is your definition of a life well lived?